Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm Wendy De Rosa, and this podcast episode is on how to develop your intuition and exploring the four aspects of intuition. So, the way I like to begin our process, our talk, our discussion, and connection time is by grounding here in this moment. So, let's close our eyes together and settle in, feeling your feet on the earth and your sit bones connected to wherever you might be sitting. And we'll begin deepening our breath and imagining that there is a strong tree trunk like image securing the sides of your hips, your low spine, low belly, and your sit bones. And it extends deep, deep, deep into the earth and sprouts roots. As we arrive here in this moment, may you invite your soul to take a deep seat in your body. Your soul being an aspect of your intuition. It is your soul communicating through your being. And as we begin this talk on intuition, we just invite this deeper awareness that our soul does guide us here on this journey of life. And may we honor that part of us. May light surround us in this moment and in this time as you receive this information. May it support you, and may we have a blessed time together in this episode. So be it, and so may it be. Slowly, you can come back together. You can open your eyes, or you can keep your eyes closed if that supports you. Today, I wanted to talk a bit about intuition and how we develop our intuition and understanding more about it, because it is very much a body experience. And what's important first to define is what our intuition is. Some people might feel their intuition like it's described often as the voice of their soul, or a gut feeling, or it's often depicted as an inner voice. And what's important, I feel, in my sort of years of working as an intuitive healing teacher, is recognizing that people actually experience their intuition in many different ways, and our body is a part of that experience. And our intuition is a whole body experience, not just in the upper body, like the head or the heart area. It actually includes lower parts of our energy system and of our physical body. So, our intuition, the way I define our intuition personally, is that our intuition is the consciousness of our soul communicating through our physical body. And that also can include upper body, and it can include our lower body. But we have to have a body to be able to experience intuition. So, it is part of our soul communicating to us through our body. And it's actually all of our soul communicating to us through our body. And so, this concept of intuition is recognizing that we do have a soul, and our soul is in, I say, union or communion with the divine and with the universe. And we receive that information within our soul. And our soul is in many ways, the depth of it is part of the universe within us. And that information that comes through us is communicating to us consciously. What might prevent us from accessing our intuition often relates to the density that we might carry around our body. And I say around our body, but it might not be on the outside. It might be the density we hold around the layers of our soul that might prevent us from accessing the depth of our soul. So, before we go into talking about the different ways intuition represents inside our body, I want to explain that, we have our soul communicating through our energy system and through our ears, our eyes, our heart, our gut. In different ways it communicates. And we also, as I was saying, carry a density. And the density is essentially our human experiences, our human conditioning, our layers of protection, but also our survival. What conditioning we might have formed around us, either mentally or on an energetic level in our body, that would have us either very in tuned with the voice of our soul or the felt sense of our soul, or it might keep us from it. That density is what we would call in many regards the ego. Our ego gets a bad reputation, but I like to think of the ego as having two parts to it. One part is the healthy ego, and that's the part of us that we want to have. It's part of our ingrained gifts. It's part of our affect. It's how we're going to show up in the world. It's part of what helps us manifest our soul into this human experience. And we do need that aspect of our ego. There's another aspect of our ego, and that is our, what I might call our wounded ego. And the wounded ego holds within it conditioning that has essentially helped us survive here on this earth. That conditioning might include what other people, our caretakers, felt and believed about themselves or about life in the system we were raised in. And so we might have developed some beliefs, some subconscious fears, some ways we either connected with ourselves or disconnected from ourselves. It might include how we are going to think and feel and believe about ourselves in the world that's going to help us belong and exist on this planet. Sometimes those concepts are wounded. For example, children are not meant to be seen, or excuse me, children are meant to be seen, not heard, or it's not okay for you to be you, or in order to succeed in this world, you have to disconnect from your emotions. These might be different subconscious, unspoken beliefs that we were raised in, that we internalized and then reenacted in order for us to survive. These form different ways we protect ourselves. They form sort of the density of how we might protect ourselves from the world, from others, or it might protect ourselves from ourself, from our soul. And so these density layers may form in the energy body as part of our ego consciousness or our wounded ego consciousness. And they speak too. They have a voice too, which is why sometimes people will say, well, I don't know if it's my intuition or my fear talking, because both talk. Our body talks, the energy system talks, and sometimes those voices are protective and according to our conditioning and our wounded ego. And sometimes those voices are the voices of our soul, or the voice of our soul, the messages that come through us. What's interesting about intuition is that developing intuition coincides with healing. So you can't really do one without the other. If you're on the path to learning and developing your intuition more, that requires energy healing and deeply healing and clearing and moving through processing, whether it's in therapy or through energy work, processing the body traumas and processing the imprints and the conditioning and the belief systems and the unprocessed emotions and all the different things that we also hold in our body that would keep us essentially from accessing the light of our soul and our deeper intuition. So learning to develop our intuition and befriending our soul more deeply and powerfully is a process of energy healing and clearing that coincides with developing intuition. So, in the body, I want to talk about the 4 different ways that intuition represents for people. So, number 1, energy in the body is, or intuition rather, in the body is an aspect of our soul that illuminates from the central channel of the body. And in the central channel of the body, we have these powerful chakras in the energy system. And as grace or light or life force energy illuminates through the central channel, it illuminates through the chakras. And when we are born, we come into this world with particular intuitive gifts or abilities. But the way I might rephrase that is we come into this world with inherently strong power centers. Some are going to be stronger than others that we come into this world with. And sometimes our work in this world is to strengthen or heal or, learn to discover the power in particular power centers. Some people, all of us, will come into this world with inherently stronger power centers than others. Those power centers, those chakras that we might inherently come into this world with that are strong will also define our aspect of intuition. So if you come into this world with a really strong throat chakra, and that is like mom has said down to, the time ever since I came out, I could talk or I could express myself, or I knew at a very young age I had a really strong voice, or I was always singing. There's indicators that you might have come into this world with a really strong throat chakra. Really strong throat chakra people develop clairaudience in their life. They start to they hear things, or they hear things intuitively, or messages, or they might be channelers. And I use that word channelers not by meaning that they always channel spirit, or a form of channeling spirits. Rather, some people who are strong in their throat chakra just naturally download their higher genius and speak from a higher place. And that's an aspect of clairaudience in their body. So some people come into the world with really strong aspects of intuition. And so what I'm going to do is explain those. In the lower body, we have the clairs of clairsentience, which is the felt sense, the sensory experience. And we have the sense of claircognizance. Claircognizance can come up as high as the heart chakra. Claircognizance is the knowing sense. I know because I know because I know, and I feel it in my bones, and I get the chills, and I get I get it in my gut, and I feel it deeply. That's the claircognizant sense, the knowing deep within the body, and it's very kinesthetic in the body. Clairsentient people are the empaths. They feel the energy around them in the world around them. They feel the energy of others. They feel emotional energy. Those 2 aspects of intuition very much relate to the lower chakras, particularly the 2nd and 3rd chakras of the body. Clairsentience often relates to the front side of those chakras. That's the empathic sense. I feel from the world. I feel energy. While we might think it's heart or upper body, we feel through other sensory areas of our body. And empaths and clairsentience feel what's beneath the surface. And that's the power of the 2nd chakra in the body. The job of the 2nd chakra and the 3rd actually is to feel the subtle that's underneath the table, that's not spoken, that's often unspoken. So that aspect, clairsentience, is very much that front side of the 2nd and 3rd chakras. The back side of the entire chakra system from the base up into the heart, back of the heart, is the claircognizant sense. And that's, I say backside because that's where the soul is nudging forward and giving that invisible unseen sense of knowing. And it might not just exist in the backside, it might step forward into the center of the body. But claircognizant people will get the chills. They'll get I call them validation chills. They'll get the sensations in their body. They'll get physical responses. They might get tired. They might pep up. They might get very visceral experiences in the body along with this knowing sense. And they may not know why they know. They just know. Claircognizant people also sometimes need to go for walks to get their intuition moving, get the senses going. After energy healing or a session of some sort, they need to move their bodies. They're very kinesthetic in their knowing sense. They might even, if they're body workers, they might get their intuition through their hands. That's a claircognizant sense of feeling physically through the hands. It's very kinesthetic. So these, I consider them more lower body intuitive aspects because they are part of our human experience in relationship horizontally with the world. And that means energy comes, we exchange energy, or we give and receive horizontally. Empaths very much are horizontal intuitives. They feel more with the energy in the world horizontally. Whereas vertically is a little bit more about the divine connection and the connection to higher spirit and higher self, and facilitating energy through downloads and receiving pictures and images from the higher realm. That relates more to our upper chakras. That would be heart chakra upwards. Now, claircognizant also is about the heart chakra because part of our soul, it expresses its knowing sense through heart callings. So we might have a very visceral feeling of I'm called to something, to do something, or to show up in a particular way in the world. The upper clairs of clairaudience and clairvoyance relate to the throat chakra and the third eye chakra, and the crown also, because that's our gateway to the universe, to the divine, to God, to grace. And so the throat chakra in the backside is so much about intuitive listening, higher knowing, higher receiving of messages. That clairaudient sense is about, sometimes messages come through music, or spirit guides, or angels, or God, or higher self, or higher love, whatever words work for you. This is the sense of the channel is open and receiving higher messages that come through. And as I close my eyes and lean back, I receive that higher knowing, that those higher messages, that higher guidance. And through the front of the throat, I communicate that either verbally or in writing or some form of expression. That's the clairaudient sense. And the clairvoyant sense is the pictures and the images and the perception, the heightened perception. Sometimes pictures aren't crystal clear for people who are highly clairvoyant, but high perception and wisdom that's coming through the higher realms and downloading information, high visions and ideas. That high genius sense is very much the clairvoyant aspect of intuition that's operating. And so some people may have all of these activated at the same time, which can be very overwhelming when we don't know that we're upper body intuitives and lower body intuitives, and we're taking in energy everywhere, or we're sensing and feeling and knowing and hearing, in all different ways. It can be very overwhelming. It's important, I think personally, that we understand that there are different ways our intuition is working in our body, and they very much relate to the chakra system. It's important, I think, to also learn about the chakras and learn how to work with these aspects of intuition. I teach training programs on this. My intuitive healer training program really focuses on, breaking down the clairs and supporting them in their development in our body. So that's a resource, and any resources you can find that support understanding these different clairs operating in your system is an important way for you to understand how your intuition works in your body. One part, I started out this talk about talking about the ego and the soul, and the healthy ego and the wounded ego. There's a way that in our energy body, so much of our front body takes precedence. We have to show up in the world and show up and, be on through our front body. And the front body is also an aspect of our ego consciousness, both healthy and wounded ego. But it's our back body that helps us connect to our soul and our intuition in that way. And so when developing your intuition and wanting to understand it more, it's really important to be aware that if you are too much in your front body, the potential for being in your ego is greater. It takes over sometimes. And that leaning back into your back body and into I like to say, a waterfall of grace, allows for you to connect to a higher sense of surrender in a good way, like a allowing of grace to flow. And it also helps us come down in our body to where we ground ourselves from our hips to the center of the earth, just like we did in our opening. It's very important when we're developing our intuition that we know we can't always get intuition from being high up in our body and forward. We oftentimes have to lean back and ground down for us to really get that deeper sense of intuition and sensing and tuning into our soul. So let's try that together for a moment. You can close your eyes and just imagine leaning back to engage the backside of your body and allow a shower of grace to flow. And your grounding cord strong from your hips down into the center of the earth, engaging your sit bones. Maybe even it could be helpful to allow the light to flow over the top of your head, that shower, and just rinse off your front body, the ego consciousness. Allow your spirit to settle. Allow your energy to clear. The noise in our body talks. It speaks, it gives signals. It can interrupt our intuition. So just a tool like showering yourself with light to release the energy and settle your body can be very beneficial. take a moment and feel into the word clairsentience in your body, how you might feel energy. Feeling into the word claircognizance, the knowing sense, ways in which your body tells you a knowing, gives you a signal. Where your heart may have a calling. And then feeling into the word clairaudience, hearing your higher self. It also might be hearing your lower self, like your inner child or your body. Words and messages. Songs sometimes. And then feeling into the clairvoyant sense, that imaginary sense, the sense of being able to create images, pictures, or a higher knowing. Having the visionary sense. And way down at the base of your body, in your root chakra at your tailbone, this is the power center that allows us to be calm and centered and grounded in all of our clairs. When we allow this area to be the seat that our soul takes a deep seat into, and we soften here and invite our soul to be really grounded into our body, taking a deep seat in this area, feeling your legs sort of opening up to allow, meaning the light starts flowing in that area, allowing your soul to embody. And that in developing our intuition, it's about understanding the whole energy system and how energy works in our body, how our soul communicates to us, through us, and within us. Pray as you anchor here in the space that light surrounds you for protection and support. As you deepen the connection to your soul, tuning in and feeling and listening and knowing and maybe seeing. Pray that this moment in time support you in connecting to your intuition through the light of your soul, communicating through the consciousness of your being. I pray that this practice support you. So very slowly you can come back into connection and open your eyes. Developing your intuition is a process. There's a lot to understand and to unpack and to heal and clear in our energy system. Oftentimes, when I take students through the process in our training program, as they clear energy in particular areas of their body and chakras, which takes time. It's not a quick release. But as we do that, they start to find that a particular clair begins to open up, that they have openings. And it's a very powerful experience in their bodies. And so um, I just share that because, again, developing intuition coincides with healing. And as we heal, more light emerges from the center of our being, and more of that light infuses into that power center. And that there strengthens not only the power that radiates from us, but also our intuition. So I hope this supports you. You can always go to my website, School of Intuitive Studies, if you are interested in learning how to develop your intuition further, and even interested in a longer training program process and training as a healer in developing your intuition. I offer that training through my Intuitive Healer training program, and you can find out more at schoolofintuitivestudies.com. I hope this supports you. Many blessings, and until next time.